Good evening. Calling to order the school committee meeting of Tuesday, September 17, 2024. We'll all rise and salute the flag. Mr. Galucci, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Present.
Mr. Caggiano,
Here.
Mr. Kingston,
Here.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Present.
Ms. Monterosso,
Present.
Mr. Sinella, Mayor Keefe.
Here. The first item on our agenda is recognition. Okay. Ms. Rizzo?
Just a point of information, I just want to let everyone know, I had submitted former school committee member Carol Ty and also the past president for the Mass Association of Superintendents, Tom Scott, for this year's award for Lifetime Achievement. So hopefully Carol will be able to attend our November conference, and hopefully some of you will attend the conference not only to get educated, but also to honor Carol also.
Thank you. Any other recognition?
Can I just mention that I found out late last week that we lost Toby Cassidy, who was an educator in the district for nearly half a century, maybe even over half a century. He was a tremendous colleague and an incredible educator. He just absolutely loved students, all of them, every single one of them. I don't know how many people in this room benefited from Toby's teaching, but he was a real gem right to the end. And so I just wanted to recognize Toby.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Also, in Toby's retirement, he served on multiple boards throughout the city and supported in many different ways. And he was also a great deal of guidance, not just to myself as an early mayor, but also the former mayor. So we did want to offer a moment of silence at this point in time.
May we offer one here also, please? Make a motion to have a moment of silence for Toby Cassidy, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Kingston.
The Matera family sent us a note. I would just like to read it. Your sympathy and thoughtfulness will always be gratefully remembered and deeply appreciated. This was sent to the Revere School Committee and also to the Revere School Department on behalf of the Matera family. I just wanted to acknowledge that we received this note. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We have the consent calendar.
Motion to accept the consent calendar.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Majority. So there's no student representative report, but I know that Ms. Monterosso, we're going to be, I know that there was a request to get some information to help support the student representative so that we have the rightful representative next meeting, which will be
Yes,
good.
and I think just to provide context to the community, the students will now have one rep that they'll vote on that will represent City Lab and the high school. So they're working on that through their elections. We'll support them, and then they'll have their chosen rep. But until then, the rep from last year will continue to be the one here until they vote on a new one.
Also, I sent the information to Erda after her email out to us, and I also pointed her into the direction of our Mass Association for School Representatives, which is a very good organization that will help them get started and get going.
Thank you. Okay. this point, we'll open the meeting up to public speak. Anyone in the audience wishes to come up and speak?
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, we're gonna have the sheet brought up, and then I'll call folks. If anyone is, do we have someone signed up? Okay, so for folks signed up, you have 2 minutes. Please state your name and address, and then people can continue to sign up or line up until the end of public speak, and we have 15 minutes for that period. So I apologize if I mispronounce or misread your name. First, we have Nancy. Yes. Nancy Martell.
Good evening, my name is Nancy Martell. I reside on 50 Library Street in Revere. I'm the principal of the Hills School, but I'm speaking to you tonight as a parent of a junior at Revere High School. I just want to thank the administration of RHS for all that they have been doing for the students and families in light of recent events. My son's a junior, and we have talked at great lengths about his experiences at RHS. He has had nothing but positive things to say about the school. He feels safe in the cafeteria, in the hallways, and walking to and from school. I appreciate the administration giving the parents of students accurate information in a timely manner regarding the recent unfortunate events. In a school this large, the majority of the kids are productive members of this building, while a relatively small number of students need some additional supports. I believe the staff at RHS is working hard to address these needs. It saddens me that inaccurate information being sent to the media has portrayed Revere students in a negative light. There are many students that I have talked to who are upset by these generalizations. I have lived in Revere for close to 40 years, and I've worked with the students and families of the city for over 25 years. I know that these incidents do not define our community. As a parent and educator in this district, I feel very fortunate to be led by Diane Kelly and the team at Central Office. They continue to prioritize students when making difficult decisions in the current climate of the city. I hope that as a city, we can all turn our focus on the best way we can support our students and celebrate the good that this community has to offer. Thank you.
Next, we have Joanne Willett. What? Willett, my apologies.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Willett. I reside on Malden Street in Revere. I am principal of the Susan B. Anthony Middle School. I am here tonight to express my unwavering support for Dr. Diane Kelly. As a parent of 2 students who are proud graduates of Revere Public Schools and are now thriving in college, and as an educator who has chosen to return to the district that shaped me, I have seen firsthand the positive impact Dr. Kelly has had on our community. The recent challenges at Revere High School are not isolated to our district. They reflect broader issues happening across Massachusetts and the nation. Blaming Dr. Kelly for these incidents ignores the tremendous work she has done throughout her tenure. Dr. Kelly was named Massachusetts Superintendent of the Year, a testament to her visionary leadership and dedication to improving our schools. She has been recognized for her exceptional work in advocating equity, academic rigor, and student well-being. I am proud to work alongside Dr. Kelly and my staff and colleagues across the district to continue building a district we can all be proud of. Her leadership has guided us through some of the most difficult times, and even when we are spread thin, her door is always open for her support, and she continues to push for meaningful, lasting improvements in our schools. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Christopher Bowen.
Good evening. My name is Chris Bowen. I am principal at Revere High School. I reside on Sydney Street in Boston, Massachusetts. I want to begin by addressing the fact that some bad things happened by students who made some decisions that weren't good. And 2 weeks later, we are still talking in the media about our kids, about our youth, in ways that students across this country, particularly youth in urban areas, particularly youth of color and immigrant youths, are consistently discussed as scary, as criminal, and as dangerous based on false statements that were made. It's wrong, it's unjust, and makes me sick to my stomach. At the same time, there's this narrative out there that we as a school don't collaborate with the educators in our building to try to improve this place. Over the past 2 years, we've spent over $25,000 stipending educators to work with me and my leadership team to develop programs, routines, systems, and new positions dedicated exclusively to student support and students who are most at risk. None of that would be possible without the support we've received from our school committee, from our city council, and from our superintendent, who has given me every single thing that I've asked for as leader of this building to support the needs of our community. And there is not one thing that has made me more sick to my stomach about the way people talk about our school, talk about our students, than the way that they so disconnectedly talk about the support we don't receive from our school district administration, particularly Dr. Kelly. I want to point out that, sorry, this is an emotional thing to say. Like, our kids are amazing people. Our kids do amazing things here every single day, supported by excellent educators that I'm proud to work with. I think as educators, we all have friends who are educators. We have friends who are teachers. I've got friends in other roles in other districts who do the same job. And I can say, like, without any concern of this not being true, that every single educator or administrator that I'm friends with in other districts is beyond surprised and jealous of the support I get and the relationship that I have with my superintendent. I'll be out to dinner or out with friends and on a weekend texting about work things with Diane, about the work we need to do here. And the way things are going, the way things are being spoken is untrue about our kids and about the support I have received as leader of this building. Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public? Any?
We're just going to check to see if anyone online is wishing to speak. Nope, okay.
Okay. Motion to adjourn public speak?
Do we have a
Second.
All in favor? So ordered. Thank you for your comments. I know that it's at times can be challenging because you're putting yourselves out there, but I think I can agree with everything you said. I just wanted to bring it up again. Like many of the members of this board, we chose to send our children to the Revere Public Schools, or still have children in Revere Public Schools, and couldn't be more proud of those decisions. And it is very, very disheartening. And I understand some people's views, but when you do things just to tear a community down and then drive home 20, 30 miles away to another community to rest your head, I live here. I'm very proud of this community. I know that everyone that sits up on this board feels the same way. We love our city. We have a great school system. Yes, like every school system, especially in a very large, dense population like the city of Revere, there are going to be instances and issues, and we will continue to work together to make sure that we resolve those issues and we continue to better our school system and we continue to better our entire community as a whole. But just know that every time you cast those stones, it's reckless. It is very reckless. I can just say that because my son is in Oklahoma right now, and he's doing his best to make sure that he represents Revere, and he hears it on the news in Oklahoma. And it's unfair, because he just left this building 4 months ago. My daughter's at Salem State, going to be an educator to hopefully come back to this district to teach with the other 800 teachers that work in this unbelievable district. And to hear those things when you go into other communities to talk how negatively about the city of Revere, it's not something that they like to hear. They know that for the most part it's very untrue, and it's very unfortunate. So I hope that the truth will continue to prevail, and I hope that we'll continue to work together to get to the outcome that we all want to get to, and that's to have the best school system, the best city, and the best relationships throughout. So thank you. Ms. Montroso.
If I can just build on that, I think we all know that there's real issues that we're working to fix, and the incidents that have happened are unacceptable. But I also want to voice our community that we have to acknowledge that the false headlines and misinformation from this past week have also harmed our student body. To know that there are adults who are calling our students animals and savages and racial slurs, that and false headlines don't fall on deaf ears. They fall on the ears and hearts of our students. we're here to serve our students and take care of their well-being just as the well-being of our educators. But it's important for the adults in this community to know that their words and actions are having consequences that are affecting our students. Our students now feel like they can't trust certain teachers because of what they know those teachers have put in the news, or that they can't trust community members who are part of their, Boys and Girls Club or YMCA. And so I hope our city can get to a place where our students can stop fighting to be at the table when they're being spoken about, where our students don't have to go up to beg for public comment in a city council meeting to be taken seriously and to be part of the conversation and not an afterthought, because our students deserve better from the greater community of the city. Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay. Superintendent report.
Sure. If I could, just before I go into the superintendent's report, I do want to thank the principals and the other administrators and colleagues who are here with us tonight. It does mean a lot to me. I'm good. This is one of those jobs where you don't get to hear the good stuff. And sometimes the negativity can be a ceaseless banging gong inside your head. So I appreciated that you all took the time to be here tonight and the kind words that you said about me. And I'm thankful that this committee gets to hear some opinions about the work that we do and the work that I do that might be a little bit different than what they're used to hearing from some other friends and neighbors and constituents that they speak with probably more regularly. So you've warmed my heart. So under the superintendent's report, I really have just one item, and that is an update on where we are with the Revere High School incident that happened a couple of weeks ago. Mr. Bowen and his team have been working endlessly to finish the work that needs to happen with all of those students in terms of their status as students. And I can update you that there have been 7 students who have completed the process through their expulsion hearings, and those have all been completed. There are 5 more who are still in progress. We continue to work with the Revere Police Department to investigate the altercation that happened on Beach Street, and 4 additional students have been identified and removed while that criminal investigation is continuing. So it could be that in the end we have as many as 16 students that are involved in that situation, but we continue to work on it. Our administrative team has been incredible, and I don't mean just the principals and the assistant principals at the high school, but also our curriculum directors who are housed here have given their time to make sure they're present in the hallways, engaging with students, and talking to them on a variety of different fronts. We have our new SRO, Reza, who's here with us tonight. We're certainly excited to have a female Latina SRO on our team with us, which is helpful. In addition, we have the behavioral health unit, which is another police officer and a social worker who are going to be housed out of Revere High School for the foreseeable future. Meet the Teacher Night. I know Mr. Bowen offered an open forum to all of the parents, and they did have a couple of dozen or so who took advantage of that. Overwhelmingly, he said the parents were very positive and eager to collaborate with the school and help build the kind of culture and environment that Member Mondroso talked about, making sure kids feel belonged and welcomed and seen and heard and humanized. We are going to follow up on that. You may have seen in the notice that the mayor's office put out that there is going to be a community meeting for all high school folks, staff, students, parents, anybody who wants to come. That is next Tuesday, the 24th at 5:30 in the Learning Commons. We have a meeting scheduled for this Friday. Mr. Bowen and I will be meeting with Roca to talk about partnering more closely with them, and we'll be figuring that out. And Mr. Bowen will continue his communication with staff, students, and families. He's been putting out a weekly memo since before the school year started, but also putting out specific memos on different topics like cell phone use. I think the one that's going out today is about how to move and transition from one class to another, and continue to communicate with parents, students, and staff to try to improve the environment at the high school. One of the questions that Mr. Bowen asked me when we were reviewing today is if the school committee members would like to be added to his Parent Square account, and that way you will see all of the communications that he does to all of his staff. I feel like that might bring a closer coupling between the school committee and what's happening at the high school.
Definitely.
Okay, so we'll make arrangements for that, Mr. Bowen. And then I just wanted to also mention that there is another safety subcommittee meeting of this body tomorrow. I don't have the time in front of me.
1 p.m.
At 1 o'clock, if folks want to join in on that. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Ms. Monterosso?
Yes, Dr. Kelly, for the community forum, can you, I know you're all planning it right now, and I know there's going to be a safety subcommittee tomorrow, so you probably already have this idea, but I think it'd be really beneficial if we had like some plan on paper that folks can see to then give us feedback so they know all that we've been doing before, what you've been doing since then, and then the new stuff, so we can really gather that stakeholder feedback as we work moving forward.
Sure, and one of the things that we were planning to do is start with the sheet that Dr. Galucci gave when we had the press conference that identifies all of the resources that are currently in place, and then add on the additional resources that we're trying to work out. We're hoping by the time we meet on Tuesday, we will have worked things out with ROCA and can talk a little bit more about what that partnership is going to look like. We'll be adding the piece about the behavioral health unit being housed here, and the additional SRO, and what we're hoping to really do is talk to parents and students about what they feel they need, and what kind of resources. I know the committee talked a lot about this at their committee of the whole meeting previously, but are there guest speakers that they want to hear come in? Are there other groups or organizations that we can bring in to help kids even more with their social emotional learning? Make sure parents are aware of the restorative practices program that we have, the resources through our student support specialists and our student engagement coordinators for each of the 5 houses that we have, in addition to the social workers and guidance counselors that are on hand.
And my last point was, are you all considering some type of parent or caregiver engagement campaign district-wide, just to get parents even more involved in every part of their child's education?
Yeah, and one of the things that because we've been focused on parent engagement so significantly through the last 4 years, one of the things that we've discovered in looking at that is that the parents engage more at the school level than they do at the district level. And so we're going to continue to work on that, and that's one of the pieces I was talking about with particular to the high school, Mr. Bowen's weekly newsletter that he's sending every Sunday with updates on what's going on and just trying to build that connection. I know he's also doing the monthly parent coffee times, and one of the suggestions we had today is that we introduce more of our support staff at those coffees, so that we could have a coffee that's themed by student resource officers, and maybe Charlie could come and visit, and that we have another one that might be themed around the work that our social workers do, and give parents and caregivers the opportunity to meet these people that we all talk about, but they might not know one-on-one, and in that environment understand better what their role is and how they are available to help individual students as needed.
Thank you. Mr. Kingston?
I'm not sure who to thank, but I'll thank the mayor. I'll thank the mayor, I'll thank the city council, and I'll thank the police chief for giving us the 4th SRO. I know firsthand that the police department is shorthanded, that they deal with a lot of things outside of, they deal with a lot of things. I'll just leave it at that. And I just wanted to say thank you. While someone might say, this isn't the end-all be-all, and I know it's not, but it was the quickest, somewhat easiest thing we could do to kind of get started. The other processes that we're talking about, I think, are going to take some time, but this is kind of a more of immediate. Gives us a hand. The 3 SROs we have are awesome. I think the world of all 3 of them, but to add a 4th and be a woman and also, speak another language, I think will be really helpful. And I just want to thank the mayor and the council and whoever else had a hand in it. I don't want to leave anyone out, so I'm going to say the mayor, the council, and the chief for allowing us to have another officer. I really appreciate it. I think it's important, and I just wanted to say thank you publicly. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else down there? Mr. Kingston, I'm going to thank the chief. I mean, I did ask him. I didn't give him an option, but he was very willing to support with the additional SRO and also the behavioral health unit. But as Ms. Kelly said, listen, no one on this board is suggesting that nothing happened. We would be ignorant to say that. We do recognize that there was something that happened, something that we weren't happy about, no one's satisfied with, but we continue to use that as a building block on what we can do to further prevent future issues throughout the school year and throughout future school years. So good things do come out of that, and that is the addition of the SROs, but also the communication pieces that will come out of that, the reassurance to our families and staff, and the reassurance to our students, like Ms. Monteroso mentioned, making sure that they feel comfortable walking into this environment every day, just as much as we want our faculty to feel. But having this forum next week will be very nice, even if it's not so structured because we're doing it so quickly. It's about having good dialogue between families and caretakers and students and faculty to be able to talk about what is the best option, because I don't spend 7 days a week in this building. The people that do can help offer some guidance. That doesn't mean everything that they want or think should happen is going to happen, but it's that good back and forth dialogue that we'll be able to have. But know that everyone has our attention. We have everyone's best interest in mind. We're not going to make every decision in a silo. We'll do it together. So the community will come together on this, and that's all we're asking for. So I think that you got to always take what good comes out of every event, and this is something that's good that's happening right now. So thank you, and thank you to the chief for your support as well. Ms. Monteroso.
So, Mr. Mayor, would it be possible to get the information on Tuesday so that we may be able to attend?
Yeah, so
Please?
Tuesday, yes. 5:30, in the Learning Commons for the 5:30 here at the Learning Commons. We'll send out an official invite as well. Correct. There was an email sent out with a statement, but 5:30, we'll send out an official address and invite. And I know Mr. Bowen is sending it out to his students as well, his faculty, families, correct? Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Kelly? No? Okay, great. Hearings, there are none. Reports of the subcommittees, policies and procedures. Ms. Milbury-Ellis?
Sure. With the chair and Madam Vice Chair's permission, I'd like to provide my report for our subcommittee meeting and then disseminate the minutes for approval next month. The Policy and Procedures Subcommittee met on September 4th of this year. On the agenda were several topics. We spent great lengths talking about the issue of attendance and absenteeism in our schools. Obviously, it's an issue that's plaguing not just our district, but the nation, and we're trying to come up with ideas to combat it. So Dr. Kelly was able to provide us with some background information as far as the data that is accumulated here within the school. Out of this meeting, the school committee will be receiving quarterly, is it EWIS reports? EWIS reports, am I saying that right? Okay, and reports from the engagement officers as well. This will give us a better idea of any patterns that we're seeing, and so that way we as a committee can have, a hands-on approach and see firsthand what's happening with respect to absenteeism in our schools. The second issue that we confronted during our subcommittee meeting was an issue raised by my colleague, Mr. Kingston, on grading. There was a misnomer as to a 50% start-off grade, and it was further explained to us that essentially 50% is the lowest that you can receive, correct, Dr. Kelly?
Yes.
And the idea about this is that students who are failing and say they're getting a 30% in class, in a grade, a particular class, teachers find it often impossible to re-engage them. And so one of the things to making sure that is to make sure that the grades reflect what the kid knows, what the student knows, and to incentivize students to pull that grade up. So, I mean, if you're getting a 40 or a 50, you're not passing. But if you're on that cusp and you get this additional motivation, it may pull you out of that rut. So that's the understanding that we have on that. We discussed the professional development for the school committee. We have some additional classes that we're going to take, but more interestingly, we also discussed an onboarding handbook that Ms. Monterosso had suggested we begin working on as a committee through a Google Doc application. And this will allow new committee members who are onboarding to have some sense of the rhyme of reason of this thing called the school committee. And so that's a great suggestion, and I look forward to working on that and having the committee's input on that handbook. The last two items that we discussed were briefly the formalization of minutes. This is something that we've talked about in the past, where we've just looked to provide a mechanism where if a committee member wants to have their position made known and reflected in the minutes, that would happen. We also, actually, I'm going to use this time, I suppose, to put forth a motion to the full committee, to recommend to the full committee that we create a job description and position with a student intern to take minutes. This could be one or multiple positions, but it would allow a student to have some exposure to our subcommittee meetings. They'd have to review the notes that would be either already transcribed or have to, review the video, but in some way, we'll be working with students in order to provide us with our subcommittee minutes. It's another way to get students engaged and to perform a service that would be super helpful to the committee. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Clear roll call.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo?
Can I have a clarification what the motion is on? Is it, you're talking about student in?
Do you want me to repeat the motion?
Yes, please.
Motion to create a job description and position for student interns, plural, to take the minutes of subcommittees.
Any questions?
Yes, so if you're having a meeting at 1 o'clock, are you asking that student to come out of class?
No. So all of our subcommittees are available via YouTube. So the idea would be that the intern would be able to do this on their own time, and at some point prior to us voting on the minutes.
Okay, but you wouldn't necessarily have to use a student intern to do minutes?
Correct.
Okay.
I would suggest that if the meetings were at a time that was conducive to that student intern, that hopefully they would take the opportunity to come in and sit on the in-person meetings. I think it would be to both the committee, the subcommittee, and that student's benefit.
And I believe some of the internships actually are at that time too, correct? I know that some have asked to come to City Hall to work at that time. Yep. Okay. Mrs. Rizzo?
On the motion? Yes.
Mr. Caggiano?
Yes.
Mr. Kingston?
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis?
Yes.
Mrs. Monterosso?
Yes.
Mr. Sinella? Yes. Mayor Keefe?
Yes. Motion passed.
And finally, the last topic on the agenda for the subcommittee was donors choose. And there was an addition in the most recent employee handbook, the faculty handbook, where principals will now seek authorization when establishing a Donors Choose account. The reason for that was because there were individuals who were putting projects up that the admin didn't necessarily agree with, and projects that don't perhaps reflect what is actually needed. It is cumbersome for teachers. We do note the inconvenience of it. I think, Dr. Kelly, do you want to elaborate at all?
Yeah, I'll just,
On explanation.
just one little bit of a clarifier. It's when before teachers put up a position, they need approval from their principal.
Correct.
And there were a couple of cases that we talked about where teachers may have been requesting things that aren't necessarily practical in the classroom. Like there was one who had a plan to make a living room set, which might not be something that the administration wants to see in a classroom for a variety of reasons. And so just, and we talked to the principals about this, so they're all aware of it. And we've shared it with staff, so they're all aware of it, that just when they have their idea, they have to notify the administration. We're not trying to do a huge burdensome protocol of paperwork, but they just have to talk to their administrator and make sure the project is approved. Different administrators are doing this differently. Some of them are having them fill out a Google spreadsheet where they just get a little check mark when it's all set. Others are doing it where they do fill out just like a one-pager, not a giant burdensome piece of paperwork. Others are printing their jobs as they've entered the data before the project goes live to get approval for it. We're leaving that to the building to determine what's best for them. They're doing different things based on the size of their buildings, so.
Okay. And the expectation is that, these requests would be acted upon promptly.
Correct.
And for the most part, teachers should not be faced with any issues with respect to, just having to go through this extra process.
Correct. And the administrators are invested in helping teachers think innovatively about their classrooms and their instruction. So they're motivated to help the teachers get what they want when they're putting an innovative, academically appropriate project up on Donors Choose, and just making sure that they realize that one of the school committee protocols is that whatever they get from Donors Choose belongs to the school department because they've used the school department as a link to get that project. And so whatever materials they do get remain in the office. And by having this administrative approval, it also makes administrators aware of what projects have gone up and been funded so that if a staff member does transfer out of district, we have some knowledge of what may have come in through that venue.
Great, thank you. That concludes the report of the Policy and Procedure Subcommittee.
Thank you. Oh, Ms. Montroso.
Ms. Mulberry-Ellis, could you also mention how we spoke about using the AI Otter software or YouTube transcript until we find an intern? I believe there was a recommendation to the full committee to start using Otter for the minutes.
I use that all the time, and it works very well.
If you want to put the motion.
And I would like
Thank
to,
you for that.
yes, make a motion to approve the use of AI, specifically Otter software, for the transcription of subcommittee minutes if a chair so wishes to.
Second.
And to clarify for folks, it is free, so we wouldn't be putting any money towards using it.
Right.
Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
It's ordered.
Thank you, Jackie.
Parent involvement. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock, we have another safety meeting, and we'll be talking about student involvement, adding more security, and some security initiatives. And that will end my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Caggiano? Okay, great. Ms. Rizzo?
Would this also be a Zoom? Is there a link for Zoom, or is it just in person?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, there will.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Montroso?
Just a note for the public, all our meetings are in person, on Zoom, and they're also live streamed on YouTube and recorded for future viewing if anyone wants to see them.
Thank you, Ms. Montroso.
If I could clarify one thing, the subcommittee meetings are on YouTube. They're not on Zoom. This is not a public comment during the subcommittees, but they're live streamed on YouTube. Yeah,
So members can attend the agenda.
yeah. They are still open to the public if people want to come.
Yeah, so members can. Members, yes. I'm sorry. I'm just being clear. Thank you. Okay, and Ways and Means Subcommittee, Mr. Kingston.
The Ways and Means Subcommittee met on Thursday, September 12, 2024, at 1:30 in the Ferranti School Committee Room, and it was via Zoom. I attended, as well as Member Anthony Caggiano and Member Fred Sinella. Ms. Milbury Ellis also attended. We did discuss two main items. One is the carry-forward item, which I'd like to just read individually. $50,000 for District Improvement Plan Consultant. That's to help the district with the District Improvement Plan. $35,000 for student engagement meetings. What those will hopefully to do is have more parent and parent engagement. Hopefully, the reason we were putting the money in was, sometimes food is a good enticement for people to come. So maybe offer some food or some childcare to eliminate some barriers for people not wanting to come to a meeting. $90,000 for 3 part-time paras at the Revere School. The Revere schools, some of the classrooms were overcrowded. It was asked of us to provide paras to help the teachers in those classrooms. $140,000 for an operations administrator position at the Rumney Marsh. This is to help free up the administrators to be in the classrooms and hallways and see the students and be forward-facing. Another $140,000 for the Garfield Middle School, same position. That $140,000 does include benefits and other things. That's not just a salary, just so no one's misled. And another $140,000 for operations administrative position at the Susan B. Anthony. $100,000 for another nurse. Nurses are in demand, and we need to continually hire, so we want to add one. $50,000 for Lincoln School door knobs. Basically, knobs are not ADA compliant, so we're going to switch to handles. Some people have trouble with knobs, and the Lincoln School's knobs will be replaced. We will not be doing the ones at the high school, only because, eventually, hopefully, the building we'll have a new building, hopefully. $77,457.90 hold for unexpected needs. And finally, $65,000 for the Lincoln School playground. This is not the public playground. This is the playground that the early childhood uses. It's in need of repair. The other item that we discussed, that's it. So just to I apologize. Just to carry forward monies in the Lincoln School playground. And I read the $35,000. Yes, and the $35,000 for the meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Kingston. Ms. Monterosso.
To clarify, is it 35 or 30? Because 30 is what's in the.
Yes, the meeting was at 35. I think that's a typo.
Oh, okay.
35 was discussed at the meeting. I have it written in my notes. I think it's just a typo.
I would suggest then that the $77,000 figure that you read
reduced
would be
by-
reduced to 72.
Yes, ma'am. Agreed.
Okay.
That ends my report, Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Ms. Monterosso.
Not on this, but because we are on the Ways and Means Subcommittee, I'll introduce a motion, but I would like the committee to explore if there's something we can do about transportation. So Matt Cruz sent us an analysis that I requested on how much it would cost to reduce the bus restriction from 2 miles to 1. We saw it's millions that we do not have, so I understand that. But I was surprised to see that we have around 1,033 high school students who have to walk, which is almost half of our student body because they don't qualify. And so it may not be fully reducing it, but it could be, transportation passes. I'd like the committee to explore if there's something financially that we can do to get more students on safe transportation home so they don't walk. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to refer to the Ways and Means Subcommittee explorations of bus transportation finances. Exploration, yes, thank you.
I second that.
Discussion?
Discussion.
Don't we have Transportation Subcommittee that we would refer it to?
No, we don't have a transportation subcommittee.
We do.
Who's the chair?
Part of Plant and Maintenance.
So
Plant meetings.
it falls under plant maintenance, but it's not called that, okay. So
So would you
then,
recommend sending it to the
so I
plant
would like
maintenance?
a friendly amendment to my motion to first refer the exploration of transportation alternatives to the Plant and Maintenance Subcommittee.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So ordered. So, Mr. Kingston, with your subcommittee report, did you have any, was it just a report out? Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. And just another kudos to our CFO for doing such a wonderful job, making sure that we stay in the, not in the red, we are in the black. Good job. Appreciate you. We don't want to be in the news again this week. Thank you. Okay, motions. The district improvement plan, Ms. Kelly?
Sure, I probably should have put this under superintendent's report. But I didn't know, I just wanted to share, this is the last year of our 5-year strategic plan. And so we worked with the administrative team, the principals, the assistant principals, and the curriculum directors, and we looked at all of the strategic initiatives that we had made back in 2020 and tried to identify those ones where we thought we needed a little more work. And so you see those highlighted probably better in the online version, which is in color. There was one strategic initiative, 6.1, that we had named way back 5 years ago, that we didn't get to. And I didn't know if this committee wants to pursue that. It's something that we can put under the new plan going forward. But that was reviewing existing school committee policies critically through the lens of equity and identify areas needing improvement. But the rest of them are a combination of goals that we've had previously that we feel like in the 5 years have maybe been de-emphasized and need a little bit more attention, or some that we just haven't gotten to yet. So for this school year, the last year of this plan, our strategic initiatives include ensuring that all staff members feel supported and included in our diverse community. Might sound familiar to the next one, 1.3, which is making sure students feel the same way. And that's a goal that we had on our priority list in previous years, but we feel like we need to revisit it in light of recent events. And then we have objective 3.4, which is ensuring that parent groups like the PTO, the CPAC, and the LPAC are representative of the racial diversity of our school community. We have made progress in that area, but we felt this was still an area we needed to work on more. And so we included it in this year's plan. Next, we have 4.1, which is to increase the district's capacity to provide social, emotional, mental health, mental and behavioral health interventions. And again, re-emphasizing that in light of the events over the last few weeks. And then finally, last one is to ensure teaching practices across classrooms focus on effective student-centered deeper learning experiences. And this is another goal that we're revisiting that had been a priority in previous years, but we wanted to re-emphasize what exactly is happening in the classroom and make sure that that rigor is evident and that the academics are really a focal point for the school year. So those are our goals for this year, and I don't know if anybody had questions, comments, concerns.
Ms. Rizzo?
Yes, Dr. Kelly, when I looked through this, and I know we specified it was going to be including everyone, DEIB, but I also look at, when I look at the district profile for student retention in the past 5 years, I always keep seeing the high needs as the top one for being retained. So I'm wondering if maybe next meeting you can kind of let us know what work is being done to change that, because it has been the high needs every year as the top.
Definitely, and I think one of the reasons for that is that the majority of our students, almost 80% of them, qualify as high needs. That encompasses all of the kids that are on IEPs because they have special learning needs. It includes all of the kids who are English learners and all of the kids who live in poverty. Almost all of our kids fall into one of those three categories, which hits the high needs. But we can definitely do a report next month sharing out what our student support teams have been doing at the school level and help bring that information to the surface.
Thank you.
Ms. Milbury-Ellis?
Dr. Kelly, could you just repeat those three categories? I missed one of them.
Sure, it's special education,
Okay.
English learner, is that it? Okay. Poverty.
It does, on DESE though, it has low income, high need, English language, all separated.
Yes. So DESE identifies the separate categories individually, and then high need is defined as all of those three combined. There are some kids who fall into more than one of those categories. So when we're disaggregating the data and just looking at different subgroups, we want to look at them individually and then also combined in the high need. But that's why the high need category is so large, because it's every kid who falls into any one or more of those three categories.
I'd like, Mr.
Ms.
Chair,
Ms. Monteroso?
I'd like to make a motion now to approve the district improvement plan.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So ordered. The carry forward motion.
So there was a clarification at the committee of the whole that this will now be by line item. So this motion has been adjusted in agreement through the COW. And so if someone wants to make a motion for the first line item, and then we can start from there.
Mr. Kingston, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I would like to, just with the edification of everyone watching, we're going to take up the school committee, it's under term school committee allocations. I will read them one by one, and then we will take a roll call vote on each item, item for item. There are 2, 4, 6, 8, there are 10 items. So I'll start with the first one. Superintendent Contracted Services, $50,000, District Improvement Plan Consultant.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Yes.
Mrs. Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes.
Second, Superintendent Other Costs, $35,000. This is for student engagement meetings.
Ms. Monteroso?
I'd like, so, do you want to withdraw your motion so I can do the other one?
I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay, so then I actually would like to make a motion to suspend our subcommittee structure, a structure for the approval of the $35,000 for student engagement meetings and just for the community's context. Because this is an urgent matter with student safety, we want to avoid going through another 2 to 3 months of getting this approved. So that is the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All, discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Yes.
Miss Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes.
Motion for regular education, motion for superintendent other costs, $35,000 for student engagement meetings.
So move. Oh, sorry. Sorry, it's a long night. You made the
Second.
motion. Oh, great. Thank you, Ms. Mulray.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Yes.
Miss Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes.
The next motion is for regular education paraprofessionals, $90,000. This is for 3 part-time paras at the Paul Revere Elementary School.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Yes.
Miss Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes.
The next motion is for the Rumney Assistant Principal, $140,000, Operation and Administrative Position.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Yes.
Miss Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
No.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes.
Next item is Garfield Assistant Principal, $140,000, Operations Administrative Position.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis.
Yes.
Ms. Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella.
No.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes.
Susan B. Anthony, Assistant Principal, $140,000, Operations Administrative position.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Yes.
Ms. Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella.
No.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes.
A nurse's position, $100,000, again for a nurse.
Second?
Discussion. Roll call.
I have a question.
Yes.
Has it
Ms. Rizzo.
Has it been decided where that nurse would be placed? Dr. Galucci?
Not to my knowledge. I didn't know if that was discussed at the subcommittee meeting. Okay. I mean, we have a few potential landing spots.
Okay. Will we be getting the second one at Hill School?
I'm not sure.
I don't think that we've sorted it all out yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
We already have one, a second one at Hill School.
And she's fabulous, but we already discussed this years ago.
I know.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Yes.
Ms. Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes.
Next item is maintenance of buildings, $50,000, to replace all the Lincoln School doorknobs with handles to make them handicapped accessible.
Second?
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Yes.
Ms. Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes.
The next item is contracted services for the amount of $72,457.90. This is to be held for unexpected needs that may pop up during the year.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Yes.
Ms. Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes.
The next item is extraordinary maintenance, $65,000 for the Lincoln School playground. This is not the city's playground, this is I'm calling it the tot lot, I don't know what the exact term is, but it's the lot used by the early childhood class. It's not accessible to the public, it's a separate lot used for the early childhood students. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I thought it was going to be referred to plant maintenance.
No, that was the,
So
plant maintenance was Ms. Monteroso.
I would like to introduce a substitute motion to actually refer this to plant and maintenance in accordance with our subcommittee structures. Do I have a second?
Second.
So now the vote will be on the substitute
The
motion.
substitute motion, any discussion on the substitute motion? None? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Yes.
Ms. Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes. And that is it for motions,
No.
Mr. Kingston?
Yeah.
Which one? Okay. Yeah, oh, I mean for financial motions, correct. So, the next motion is to approve the AFSCME contract.
Yes. So I was able to sit on negotiations with my colleague, Mr. Caggiano, and I have to say that it was a very pleasant and collaborative experience. We came to an agreement on 3.5, 3.5, and 4, and it seems that everyone left actually quite happy. So this was a success story, and I'm happy to report it. I will introduce a motion to accept the AFSCME contract, which includes 93 and 93A. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Yes.
Ms. Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes. Congratulations
Yeah, good stuff.
to the AFSCME members. Next, we have motion by Ms. Monteroso.
Yes, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the COLA benefits that will now be extended to the non-union employees.
Second.
Mr. Kingston,
Substitute motion.
substitute motion.
Motion to approve COLA benefits to all non-union employees. I just want to include the word all.
Okay, I can just make the friendly amendment to my own and just include all, so.
Fine with me.
Thank you. And just for everyone's edification, this would be basically a parity for the non-union members, correct? Great. Fantastic. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Caggiano,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis,
Yes.
Ms. Monteroso,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Mayor Keefe.
Yes. Congratulations. Motion passed. Any unfinished business? Seeing none. Any new business? Mr. Kingston.
Two items I'd like to talk about in the future. I know they're not on the agenda, but these are for future conversations and to give the superintendent a heads up. The first one would be, I would like the sped director to come before us and discuss how the new model is working. It doesn't have to be at the October meeting. If November meeting works better for her, that's fine with me. I was just looking for an update. How's it going? Anything that we need to help to support that a little better? And any suggestions, not that I don't want to hear everything's great, but if there's something needed or something, whatever, that we just have an update so we can see how that, it was a lot of money, a lot of work, and I was just wondering how it was progressing. That's number one.
Excuse me, Mr. Kingston, I will be having a subcommittee meeting with them included.
Okay, I will do my best to attend. The second item was, for our non-union employees, I would like to ask the superintendent to do a salary survey of the area. I think the unions do a good job of fighting for their union members, but the non-union members really don't have a voice. So I would like to see a salary survey done for the non-union positions, just to see that we're keeping pace and that they're getting what they, what they need, to be fair. Turnover is a huge problem, and if we can avoid someone leaving the district because they're going to go somewhere else and get some more money, I'd like to just make sure that we're competitive. We don't have to lead the pack, but at least be competitive. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Roll call? Or all in favor?
All in favor? Have a great night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.